Whether you're looking for a CV or not, it is crucial to keep your CV up to date, as in the world of work, it is a representation of you. Imagine being in the middle of an interview and the interviewer shows you a spelling error in your CV. Isn't that awful? Or how would you feel if you were the interviewer and you picked up a couple of errors in the CV? Would you feel excited to hire the person that you just interviewed? Probably not. I mean, I wouldn't. I've been in the position where I had to look through a couple of CVs and I was not really impressed by what I was given to look at. So it is kind of a bit challenging, but you want to be a person who stands out from the rest of the pack, especially during this tough economic time and job market. And the hiring season, the 2021 hiring season, will be upon us very soon. And we all know what happened last year during the pandemic and the hard lockdown. It was not easy. Many people were retrenched, many people lost their jobs, companies had to close down, etc. So let's find out how to build an awesome CV with career coach, HR and talent specialist, Elin Agodi. Good morning, Elin.
Good morning, Mariam. How are you doing today?
Very well, thanks. And yourself? Compliments to the new season.
Same to you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to having a conversation about something that I'm super passionate about.
Awesome. When it comes to having a CV, most of us just Google a template of a CV and we take whatever is available, whatever we were given on there, and we change our details and we run with that. So, what makes a good CV, or what should a good CV comprise of?
Great stuff. That's a really good question. So, a great CV should comprise of really selling yourself, right? I always use the analogy that the CV should talk for you in the room when you are not there. And some
Mhm.
of the things that a good CV comprises of is really telling the potential recruiter or potential manager about what value you can add to an organization, right? I always also let job seekers know that you're not the only person applying for a job. With
Mhm.
the rate of unemployment, we know that it's very high and everyone is trying to get employed. So you need to think about what are the things that help you stand out. Like I
Mhm.
said, first off, what value you can add to an organization and why should they hire you? Gone are the days where we say, I'm a hardworking employee, I am organized, I get things done. What does that mean practically
Mhm.
for an organization? And how can you show on your CV that you've demonstrated that in the work that you've done? The other important things to consider is a clear, concise, short CV that really highlights what experience you have that relates to the job that you are applying for so that somebody can see the similarity. I screen hundreds of CVs and
Mhm.
I often see people applying for jobs, but there's no similarity in terms
Mhm.
of what they have done compared to the job they are applying for, right?
Mhm.
Other important things are make sure your contact numbers are up to date. I can't tell you how many times I try to phone candidates only to find their phone number goes to voicemail and they've got the perfect skills. But
Mhm.
I'm not going to, keep calling you back if your number is wrong or if your number goes to voicemail. Um, Again, like I said, keep it concise and highlight your achievements. For young people that are entering the job market, very often it's difficult, because maybe they don't have work experience. But I say go and find a job where you can volunteer. Nothing's going to stop you from learning, even in a volunteer position. And many organizations are open to that. So that, again, you can highlight the value that you added in a volunteer capacity so that a potential employer can seize the value you can add to their business.
And when they see that you are able to do things for yourself, you are able to get up and actually take the initiative to volunteer, they'll be more willing to employ you because, you're somebody who takes action. You want to get things done by standing up, taking a stand, and volunteering. Now, you mentioned about CVs where people just put in any information. Um, so how often should we change our CVs to match what the job seekers are looking for, or rather the employers are looking for?
So I have a practice that I share with my clients and other job seekers that in general, your job responsibilities are not really going to change if you look at what you've done, right? So
Mm-hmm.
keep that as generic as possible. But in your personal summary or your motivation letter, make amendments to that in a way that is suitable for that job and that employer you are applying for. So that
Mm-hmm.
in that way, you're, not just sending a generic cover letter, dear hiring manager, I've seen your position, and I'm really looking forward to applying for this position. See, here's attached my CV. I see that often job seekers don't even change the job title that they're applying for. They might be applying for a receptionist role, but in their cover letter, it says administrator or it says, something else. So those are minor details, as you mentioned earlier, that could potentially be the difference between whether you get called for an interview or not. Are you serious? Are you taking your job application process serious? And those are one of the key things. Update it, make it relevant to the job that you are applying for, especially in your summary section and in your cover letter.
Mm-hmm. And people tend to lie about references on their CVs, perhaps add a friend in or a family member to stand in as someone to pose as someone whom they've worked with before, a previous colleague or a previous employer. So, what does that do to the job seeker, and what type of references should be included in the CV?
Yeah, so very good question. This happens quite often. Very important, job seekers need to think and remember that when somebody's doing a reference, they are trying to confirm the quality of work that you performed, as well as the kind of work ethic and the kind of employee you were. So when
Mm-hmm.
you put a relative or somebody that you've never worked with, a friend, they are unable to answer those questions. And that actually makes the employer, question your integrity and credibility. Rather be honest to say, maybe I've never worked before, so I actually don't have somebody that can vouch for the kind of work that I can do. But perhaps there's a community leader or a church leader or somebody else in a senior position that's not a relative who can vouch for me and give some feedback. Other things in terms of employers, companies are becoming very clever. So even
Mm-hmm.
though you may put a reference, as somebody to contact, they may contact one of your previous employers to find out what kind of employee you were. So always be honest. That is also, again, the difference between whether or not you could potentially, get employed for a job. If you're being honest and saying, maybe you've had a bad or difficult work experience, be honest about that so that
Mm-hmm.
the potential employer is not surprised when they are doing the reference to find that you were dismissed or that there was a performance issue or whatever the case is.
Mm-hmm. Well, there was someone who decided to put their friend on the CV and thought that their friend would vouch for them, but unfortunately, their friend ended up exposing them and saying, "Hey, you know what? I don't even know this person, and I don't know why they included me on their CV." Ellen, do stay with us. We're going to take a break, and we'll continue when we return.
Thanks.
Exclusive restaurant and takeaway now opened. Kiki strives to serve you and your family with a wide variety of delicious meals. Enjoy our famous chicken, shish, burgers, pasta, pizza, and many more weekly in-store specials. We offer Friday buffet and Brightpit with a difference. We cater for corporate functions, valimas, and events. Purja facilities provided. Our exciting competition gourmet menu and new menu to be released at our launch. Visit Kiki's at 235 Matthews Mayue Road, Old Stemford Hill Road, Durban. Call 031 209 0119. Kiki's, the taste with a kick.
They say breakfast is the most important meal of the day, yet many children go to school hungry because of poverty. Penny Appeal's Breakfast Club aim to get a warm, hearty meal to underprivileged children so they can spend the day prospering in their schoolwork. Help feed a needy learner by visiting our website on www.pennyappeal.org.za or call 031 1100 573 to find out how you can donate. Penny Appeal. Small change, big difference.
Freedom Stationery supply Marlin and Marlin Kids pens to me and my school friends. They supply just about everything we need to help us get a better education, from books to files to rulers. In fact, any any accessory we need. Freedom Stationery. Education for the nation. What does accessory mean?
Connect and stay ahead with Salam Media. This is Salam Media coming to you live from South Africa.
Welcome back. It is 18 minutes after 11 on this Wednesday, the 13th of January, 2021. And I'm chatting to career coach, HR, and talent specialist Elin Agodi, just giving us tips on how to build a good CV and how to prepare for an interview. Elin, thank you for staying on the line. Now, as the hiring season will be opening up soon, and many people are looking for employment this year. It's getting more and more difficult to get a job, let alone land a job interview. So how does one prepare for an interview if they do get a call from a potential employer?
Yeah, very good question. Before I just answer that, I just want to say that, when you get called for an interview, take it seriously, because that means the company really does want to see you and they really see the value that you can add to them. So in terms of preparing for an interview, basic things that you should know, obviously where the interview is taking place, who you will potentially be meeting, who's the hiring manager. Also, ask for a copy of the job description if you don't have a copy of it already. And what this does is it helps you just, again, refresh yourself with what is expected in the position, because the interview is going to be a conversation to see whether the skills and experience that you have is relevant to the job that you are being interviewed for. Now, if you don't know what position you're being interviewed for, it's going to be very difficult for you to sell yourself.
Definitely.
Also, do some research around the company that you're going to see. What is this company? What are they about? Because very often, one of the first questions somebody will ask you is, tell us about yourself and why you think you're a good fit for this business. What do you know about our company? And if you're sitting there and you've got no idea what the company does, you're not going to be considered for the role, because it just shows that you're not taking the opportunity seriously. Also, do an interview prep. I encourage job seekers. Nerves are always going to be there. But if you're able to just prep with somebody, do like a mock interview, do some trials, just to set your mind at ease that you know how to answer the questions. And it also gives you the opportunity to get feedback about how you will potentially participate in the interview. The very big tip, if it's a face-to-face interview, arrive at least 15 minutes ahead of time. This helps you calm down It helps set your mind at ease, and it also gives you a sense of what the company is like when you're sitting in reception. And if your interview is happening online, make sure that your background is not distracting, that you're in a quiet place, that you've got great connectivity, and that is the environment that you want to be seen in and represent.
Besides the questions that you've already mentioned, tell us about yourself and what you know about our company. What other common questions do interviewers ask?
So these days, a lot of interviewers are using what we call competency or behavioral based interviews. And those types of questions look at what have you done in the past and how have you solved or dealt with the situation in the past and what was the result. So the kinds of questions, if I can give you an example, might be things like, tell us about the last time you worked in a team. What role did you play in the team? What was the activity? And how did the team perform? What they are trying to assess is, first of all, have you been in a similar situation before? And what was the action or behavior you took? And can you give an honest assessment around how the team performed? So those are the kinds of questions. Other questions relate to, tell me about a time when you dealt with a conflict situation. What was the situation? How did you resolve it? And what was the end result? Other questions are, how do you like to be managed? What kind of management style do you work best under? Do you prefer working in a team environment or working on your own? And give us examples of that. Other questions will be things like, what has been your recent achievements and why are you proud of what you've achieved? And how did that add value to the business? Another tip for job seekers is to look online. There's a whole host of questions, but make sure that when you're practicing, that you are answering the questions relevant to your personal experience as it relates to that job that you are applying for.
And another question interviewers usually ask is that of salary. So if the salary is not mentioned on the job description, how would you know what is the right amount to go for? I mean, you don't want to seem like, you're too desperate, but you also don't want to be, too high or too low.
Very good question. A lot of job seekers struggle with this. And so I always encourage job seekers to look at the market rate and do research on the internet. What are other companies advertising in terms of the salary around relevant and related positions? Also, look at what are you earning. Often job seekers maybe are earning a 5,000 Rand, let's say, for argument's sake. And when they go now and they talk in salary negotiation, they want to earn 15,000 Rand, right? That's too big of a jump. So be realistic in terms of what are other companies paying, what's the market rate, and ask people, what in your company, what is the salary like for this position? But I always also encourage job seekers, I give them a tip and I say, ask for about a 20% increase in what you're currently earning and then negotiate from there. But don't say 20% increase. Give them, an actual Rand value so that it's an easier way for you to negotiate from. But be open-minded, right? In COVID times, a lot of companies have cut salaries. So, be open-minded if there is a salary cut, but also remember your worth and have that negotiation, because it's easy to just ask the question and negotiate on the rate.
Yeah, I mean, you should know exactly what is your worth and what the company is worth as well, instead of just saying, oh, no, anything is fine with me. What do you mean by anything is fine with you? As an interviewer, if somebody has to say that to me, I'm going to be like, okay, but you don't know what you want and you don't know what value you can add to the company. So anything should not be fine with you. Okay, Ellen, overall, what should we avoid when it comes to including into our CVs and going for a job interview?
Great question around what to avoid. Yeah, I'm always preaching this to job seekers. So things to avoid on your CV is, don't add your ID number, don't add your physical address, right? We're living in a time when confidential information is being used, and unless on the applicant tracking system there's a request for your ID number, do not put your ID number on your CV, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just to protect your personal information. And then also your physical address. Don't put your physical address, number of house in the street, in the area with the postal code. Again, confidential information must be kept confidential. Rather put your location and the area that you live in. Also, very importantly, a lot of job seekers don't include things like whether they've got a driver's license, whether they are South African citizens, or whether they have a work visa or a critical skills visa. So put that information in. I always also recommend job seekers to not put the contact details of their referees on the CV. Again, it's confidential information. And unless the employer requests for the referee details, don't include it on your CV. Rather have the employer request for that upfront. And under that heading of references, you can just put available upon request. Your referees will also thank you that, random people are not phoning them to get hold of them. Yeah.
Wow, I would never have known this because back then when we were creating our CVs, we put everything, a date of birth, ID number, street address, everything was on there, And now that you mentioned it, yeah, for our safety, it's best not to include it. In fact, what we should do is have a scanner so that potential employees can just scan that and get all our information that they need. All right.
Imagine the
Yeah.
technology.
Oh, well, technology is ever increasing, so why not?
Yeah.
Ellen, thank you so much for your time. Can you please share your contact details should anyone try to get a hold of you for further assistance?
Great stuff. Thanks so much for having me. So you can reach out to me on email. My email address is info@humanelement.co.za. Alternatively, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn as my name, Elin Agodi, and we're also on Instagram and Facebook. Human
Right.
Element is the social tags.
All right. So thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for having me. Take care.
That was Elin Agodi, a career coach, HR, and a talent specialist, taking us through preparing a good CV and preparing for a job interview as of the 2021 hiring season will be upon us very soon. And we all know the effects of the lockdown. And many people lost their jobs, many people were retrenched, many people had salary cuts and everything because of the pandemic. But hopefully this year, it's a new year, and hopefully it will bring about new beginnings, new opportunities, new everything. And I hope that the advice that Ellen shared with us will go a long way into helping you stand out from the rest of the pack and take this information and run with it, because you're probably not going to get it anywhere else. Who else is going to tell you not to put your ID number on a CV, huh? Because we thought that, hey, you know what, let me just add my ID number. No, don't do it. With all the fraud that's going around, it's probably not a good idea. And also putting your address, your home address, don't do that. Rather put a postal code or put the area address. Say that you live in Robert Sham, Gauteng. And if the employer asks for the details, that's when you include the full details of your address. That's when you give them the full details, and also including your referees. If anyone wants to include me as a referee, please don't include my number. Just put my name, then put my social media handle instead, at Mariam is Memes on Instagram and at memes_presenter on Twitter. That's all the information that you're going to get from me right now. No contact numbers. So if you have any further questions, please leave them in the comment section, or you can send them to us on our WhatsApp number. That's 061 766 and we will pass the details on to Elin, or you can contact Elin yourself. Send an email to info@humanelement.co.za, and you can also find Human Element on social media. You are listening to the Mariam Mukwanda Show on Salam Media. We will be right back.